we inside really think of it as a cultural program in a way. You're right, it's about not just places but about us. It's about the people in the landscape. In fact, really, when you look at the stories, you need a passionate person to tell the story, as well as a good writer to pick up the bits and get it together into a story. So you're right, it's not really a travel program. It happens that we have a golden rule that says you've got to be able to go and do it. But that might be around the corner, or it might be 500 kilometres away. So it's had that element. Yes, it's about South Australia, and yes, it'd be nice to go and see it or do it or experience it. But hey, that can be a photo exhibition. Hey, you people know, working in the media, that photographers have a great eye and a great soul, don't they? You don't get to be a photographer or an artist or a writer without thinking about the place and thinking about how to portray it. As a result, you know, a lot of them help us find a story, whether it's, you know, their patch of the Riverland, or just recently I did I love the story with Patricia Summerling, who's a historian right in the city. She wrote a fantastic book on the parklands. It's new. Suddenly we've got a new way of interpreting what is screamingly obvious to most of us. In fact, we just race through in the car most of the time.
Fascinating book, actually, because if you look at it, it changes your perception of what the parklands are and were, say, 50 and 100 years ago. Worth a look. Patricia Summerling will just repeat that as the author of
Patricia Summerling, Wakefield Press.
Wakefield Press. Yeah. Now, given that Postcards is finishing, then this database, if you like, of knowledge of South Australian history and place and time ends. So what can we replace that with?
It's a good question in a way, and I think that will sort of tax all of us within and without the program. One bit of good news is that the database will flow on, because ever since the very early days there has been an independently run website, postcards-sa.com.au. It has kept thousands of pages of script, slightly rewritten, so you can just read it there, and the data about who to ring or when it's open or whatever. And you can even see the little stories streaming anywhere in the world now, so we know it happens. Somebody's got their mum in Latvia and we do a story about something they care about and they say, hey mum, have a look at this. She can look it up that night. That database will be maintained. I checked with the guy who runs it, and thank goodness for that, because it gets 500,000 unique visitors every month.
500,000 a month?
500,000 a month. It's actually it is a South Australia website in the genuine sense.
That's privately owned?
Privately owned, will be maintained, will be somehow extended, and they're working on that. How will we refresh the site? How will we add some more stories? You know, it's not quite as easy as just saying, yeah, we'll do it, but they're good people and they'll have a go, and our stories will be there as long as they're alive and whatever we were talking about is still there. But you're doing the job for South Australia. That's a good question that I hope maybe a number of people will help contribute to. There are some good signs of that that make me feel at least encouraged. For instance, this is the 175th anniversary of South Australia. Very little information about it. Government dropped the footy completely, and so there have been some voluntary organisations have got in the act, or small non-profits. History SA's got a fantastic site called Bound for South Australia. You can look up and see what happened on this day on one of the 9 ships that are on their way to this newfangled colony in a place they've never seen. And another group, the Professional Historians Association, you know, they get paid to write their histories. They've put up 2 million words worth of articles about South Australia from A to Z, and that's on their website. If you just stick it in Professional Historians of South Australia, they've got a section called SA 175, so good luck to them. With that kind of goodwill around, you'd hope that somehow maybe we're going to have to get up some kind of wiki SA, some sort of commons where we can all
but it still leaves a gap in the commercial mass media market that's been serviced for 16 years. And I think a lot of people that watched Postcards watched it more to learn about their own backyard than actually to find out where to go on holidays. Is that how you perceive the audience in the end?
That's our feedback, is that people watch the show to find out about their state. And as often, just as with religion, the converts are the most zealous of all. So if they've come from somewhere else, they say, I came from Melbourne 5 years ago. Or I know I was one of those coppers who came out from England 15 years ago. I love this program. This tells me about this place that I live in and that I now love. It's used by families. I mean, it amazes me. You're standing at the lights, on the corner of Rundle and Frome, and a kid in a hot rod, It's just, g'day Keith, postcards. And you go, what's going on here? But that kid's been sitting in the lounge since he was 4 years old, and all he knows is that there's this bloke with the white beard who tells him stuff about South Australia, and he's his mate. It's a friendly program. It's a program that people go to about who we are and what we are and why we're here. It's really, in a way, well, it gets back to the idea that we're sort of cultural tour guides. It's like you join us on Sundays and say, where will we go today?